This is another episode of Love's Diary, and I'm AntiSoSure Love, signing on. All right, my Love actor Lockup fans, friends, and family. So first up in the love seat, we have Zarua and Troy. And let's just say they take Karen, which is Troy's mother, to a service to remember, okay? Karen is already lit before she even gets to the church. She done had a couple weed gummies, and she's saying all type of crazy things. And you can definitely tell that Karen and Zarua have two different personalities, let alone two different senses of humor. Now, Karen gets up mid-church, she walks away, she's just like, party's over, she can't do this anymore, and that really offends Zarua. However, Zarua's parents, they seem more chill, they seem more comfortable. They're just like, we're gonna meet her in the parking lot. Now Karen, she is going off how she feels exposed and how they shouldn't put her on a spot like that. And of course Troy is like, he's thinking to himself, like he says in his confessional, I believe my mom is fighting some demons. However, she may have some unresolved issues within herself, but I really think it's those weed gummies that's making her paranoid. And who haven't been to church and felt like the preacher was talking specifically to them? Yes, I believe that's what's going on here. Now, I will say this. I feel like Zarua should be a little more lenient towards his mother, which is her mother-in-law. And definitely, I feel like with Zarua, it seems like she has this perfect ideal of what she wants her husband to be, without realizing who he is and what surrounds him and how he became the person he is today. So I think one good aspect to note is that for all of us who is watching going forward in our love lives and our lives is definitely get to know your partner. Other than getting to know your partner, understand that everything around them made them who they is. So you have to have some sort of respect for that. Whether you feel good or bad or indifferent about the persons around them, you have to have some respect that them persons made them who they are today. So it's kind of hard to think so highly of him, but then not so highly of his mother. But then, I also feel like she likes the ideal of him. She doesn't really understand him and where he come from, or because otherwise I feel like a lot of the things his mom is saying and doing, anybody else honestly I feel like would just take it as, oh, she's a trip, and they would laugh it off and think that she's pretty funny. But Zarua is highly offended. You can tell she's quite offended. She even goes on to tell people at church, don't pay her no mind, don't pay her no attention. And it's like maybe Zarua has this reputation about herself and she wants people to respect that, and she wants her husband to fit into her own world and reputation. But I think once you get married, it's no longer your world, it's y'all's world, and y'all are creating a new world, a new reputation, and a new life for each other. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind, and that's one thing I noticed and learned when listening and watching these two. And Karen I think those gummies definitely got to her, and she was on an emotional roller coaster, had her laughing and crying, and I think at one point she was just done being on that emotional roller coaster, and I think she was feeling a word too. But I don't feel like it was anything wrong. I don't think it was any disrespect to Zarua or her family. I just think she had enough. She had done what she could do. So I think their first time meeting probably would have went a lot better if they actually went to like lunch or something together and all had lunch or all had dinner together. I think that would have been a better way to introduce a non-church goer to church going family, instead of making her go to a church service and she's not really. I don't feel like Karen really wanted to probably go to begin with. That's why she took the gummies. That way she could lighten up and enjoy her time there a little bit more. But I don't believe that's something she probably would have done on her own naturally. And we all know you can't force someone to do something they don't want to do, because that's when you have instances like these where they don't turn out exactly how you want.
You don't expose people like that.
How do we expose you?
I come your dad having a whole sermon and I was feeling it and I was really feeling him.
Right.
But y'all exposed me.
Can I give you a hug?
All right, now next up in the left seat, we do have Kim and Joey. Now, we all know that Joey disappeared on Christmas, and we learned that Kim placed the air tag in Joey's car. That way she can see that he isn't doing anything wrong. And I do feel like communication. I don't know what I'm saying right now, but I feel like communication is definitely key here, because I feel like if Joey just had communicated with her, she wouldn't be trying to place all these trackers on him to figure out what he's doing and who he's talking to. I do think she's worried about him cheating, let alone cheating. She's worried about him slipping. I think she's more so worried about him slipping up and going back to and ruining his sobriety. So I think that's a bigger issue to her than the cheating. However, that is still a concern in the back of her mind, because as she states, she's his sugar mama for now. So she's footing the bill for everything, even bought him a car that he left out in. And she's just like, what the heck? Now, I personally don't believe that you should need to place an air tag in somebody's car unless it is a mutual agreement that, hey, I want us both to be safe no matter where we go. I want you to know where I'm at, just so you can have a peace of mind. But I don't think it's okay to spy on somebody or place trackers on them, because I feel like there's a little bit of dishonesty in doing that. And I understand she has a lot of distrust for him, but it's like she doesn't have trust in him, but she's also trying to give him trust at the same time. And I feel like in any relationship, and I think in her case, it's like I partly trust him, but I feel like in order to trust him, you have to give them the space to trust, to f*** up. Honestly, you have to give them the space to mess up in order to trust them, because you don't know what they're going to do until you give them the space to do it. So if you're already always tracking somebody, always doing something to somebody, always trying to keep somebody in a box, that's not really saying that you trust them. That's more so saying that you want to control them. But when you give them the space and opportunity to make mistakes and they don't make it, that shows that you are who they choose or who they really want to be with, because they could have made a mistake. They could have betrayed your trust, whether they felt like you were going to find out or not. But the fact that they didn't, I'm just saying kudos to Joey. He don't know at this moment that in the moment that we're watching this, he didn't know that she had a tracker on him. And so the fact that he wasn't doing anything wrong, it just came right back like kudos to Joey. Kudos to Joey. Now, we all know that Joey's family and Kim's family get together for Christmas. And of course, I think it's very interesting that Kim's dad pulled Joey to the side. For one, let me back up. Let's start here. Kim and Joey have their family together for Christmas, and Joey actually proposes to Kim on Christmas, which is very beautiful, very wonderful. And of course she says yes, and her dad is just sitting there looking a bit stunned, like, really? Oh wow. Now me personally, she has a father who is actively in her life. I'm not sure why Joey didn't think to try to get her dad's blessing first. However, he still proposes and it looks very beautiful. And afterwards, Joey's dad pulled him to the side like, okay, I need to get this off my chest. I feel like you stole my dirt bike all them years ago. Now, of course, Joey denies it, and Kim's dad really do not believe him. But what I think is very mature and beautiful of her dad, and I feel like no matter who you are, whether you're in a relationship, not in a relationship, if it's somebody that you do love, whether it be your family member, your kids, whoever, I think it's very beautiful. I feel like Kim's dad taught us all a lesson that when you really love somebody, you do whatever it takes to make sure that they're happy. And even though he has a strong dislike and I won't even say strong dislike, he has a strong disbelief that Joey stole the dirt bike, and he has a strong disbelief in Joey's sobriety going forward. However, he's willing to put all of his inhibitions about Joey behind him. Whatever he don't like about Joey, he's willing to put that aside because he wants his daughter to be happy. And I think that is very beautiful. That's a great lesson that anybody can take from watching them. When you really care about somebody, you really love somebody, you just want them to be happy. And that's that.
I'm doing it because I care about her.
Yeah.
I want to see her happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I believe you can do that. It'll be a long road. You can do it. Yeah. But I will always keep an eye out for Joey because I know his past. I still think that Joey will be doing drugs within 3 months of being out.
All right, so next up in the love seat, we have Bianca and Daniel. Now, everyone from Bianca's friends to Daniel's parents call Bianca delusional, and she, of course, does not see why. But I think part of the reason is because she's willing to just uproot her whole entire life and move across the country to be with a guy she's only met one time and who's currently incarcerated and has known issues and probably even a track record of his own. Now, Bianca does admit that she may be blinded by love, but she also goes on to say that she thinks her friend, who is very concerned about her and very scared for her to even uproot her life and just go to be with somebody who she barely even knows, she thinks that her friend is jealous of her. Now, I'm sure once her friend sees this, it doesn't blow over well, or it will not blow over well when she sees this episode. However, all I'm saying to Bianca, and not even just Bianca, but to anyone listening, is that do not lose a lasting friendship over a relationship that may not last. I feel like we've heard this time and time again, but it kind of goes out the window when you're actually in it yourself, right? And so do not lose a lasting relationship over a lasting relationship, which is a friendship, over a relationship that may not last. Now, to me, I think it's very funny because Bianca should to me, I think it's very funny because Bianca has a lot of concerns to be worried about, a lot of red flags with Daniel. However, the only thing she's concerned about is being able to have a drink when he gets out. And I think that's a little bit absurd, saying that everyone thinks she's delusional for wanting to be with him, including Daniel's parents. Then on top of that, he isn't calling and, keeping the communication alive with her, closer to getting out. We all know that's a red flag. If you've ever dated anybody in jail, or even if they wasn't in jail and the communication slows up or stops, we all know that that's a huge red flag, because obviously if they're not talking to you, they're talking to somebody, and that's just what it is. But of course, Bianca doesn't really care for that. She just believes whatever he's saying. And, maybe he feels this, maybe he feels that. I do feel like part of what he's saying may be true, but I also feel like you're in a situation where you don't want to be alone, especially in prison. The only time you stop talking is if you're talking to somebody else. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. Now, lastly, the other thing that I feel like Bianca should be concerned about that's a huge red flag is that he proposed to her on the phone, she sent him marriage papers, and then he reneged. To me, that's very, very scary, because it's like, I'm sorry, at that point I feel like you have to prove to me that you want to be with me, because to me it just seems like he's selling her a fairy tale, he's selling her a dream, and she's just buying into it. And we all know when you're in prison or in a distressing time, a lot of people, they resort to their grimy side, right? And I won't say a lot of people, because I feel like most people have been in distressing times. I mean, if you're human, you've been in a distressing time. Life is not perfect for anyone, but it really shows who that person is because when you're in a distressing time, what do you resort to? Do you resort to manipulation? Do you resort to, what do you resort to? Or do you really try to stick it out and ride it out to the end? Even if you may get a little upset here and there, do you disrespect? It's a lot of things to point out that everyone needs to pay attention to. Like they say, if you really want to know how someone feels about you, make them mad, right? And if you really want to know how someone is, distressing times really tell it all, because whatever they resort to when they're distressed is really showing the real them. I don't care if I'm in a situation where it's like, I've heard of females and men who cheated because times were hard. But there's people who don't cheat when times is hard. So you really can't say that this is the reason you're doing anything. You're doing it because you really want to, because everybody goes through ups and downs. But it's up to you to choose who you want to be and what you want to do when you are going through your ups and downs. And that is telling. So out of everything, the only thing Bianca is worried about is having a drink. And this to me is another red flag on her end, because it's like, that he has a problem with drinking. That he wants to try to stay sober. Why would you jeopardize his sobriety by even having alcohol around him at all, or wanting to tempt him at all? And so this is another good lesson for all of us, because you got to understand, it seems like Bianca wants a man to fit yet again into her world, but she's not understanding everything that comes with that man and wanting to make their worlds collide, seeing if they're a good fit for each other to be in each other's world. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it seems like Bianca wants a man, and she's more worried about the things that she wants instead of what he needs. And if you're in a relationship, we all know that's a huge red flag. It's not just about one or the other. It's about both of your wants and both of your needs. So hopefully these two can figure it out and things go well.
That's a lot of wine.
I don't have an alcohol problem.
Okay. Well, don't let it become a problem.
I am worried about the role that alcohol will play in the relationship, because I'm 23 years old and I want to go have fun. I want to have drinks, maybe get drunk every once in a while. And it really just seems like that's a hard no for him. He can be a bit overbearing and it feels a little controlling. I don't know. I just wish I was in a normal relationship.
Now, next up in the love seat, we have Julian and Christine. Now, Christine is leaving West Virginia. She's leaving behind her son and her pepperoni rolls. And she's going to Maryland with Julian, because that is where Julian stays. Now, before she leaves, she does take Julian down memory lane and explains to him how she robbed not one, not two, but 6 banks, and how her first day of prison went as well. And then, of course, after that, they go ahead and head off to Maryland. Once they get to Maryland, honestly, it seems like the out of jail honeymoon is over. Julian quickly lays down a law. He explains, hey, this is where we'll be, but here's the catch. When my kids are here, you'll be upstairs as if you're not even here. And when they're gone, we'll be able to live and be together. And that, of course, shocks Christine, because she's just like, it seems to her like he's trying to hide her. And then, of course, he also states and you need to get a job. And Christine definitely feels bombarded by this because she thought she would have more time to at least enjoy being out of jail before looking for a job. And then on top of that, she don't understand why she has to hide instead of it being out in the open that her and Julian is together. And she wants to, of course, be sensitive to the fact that his kids may not be ready to see their dad with another person, but at the same time, she does mention that it is hurtful to her. And I get it. I mean, honestly, that would be hurtful to me too. I feel like that's a red flag. If you feel like you need to hide anything, if you're not ready to date, then why are you dating? Like, I feel like if you're not ready to have those hard conversations with your kids and hard conversations with the rest of your family, like, hey, this is what's going on, this is what it is. And, you know, when you're in a partnership, it becomes you and that partner and y'all move forward. So everything else is on the outside, including kids. Yes, you love your kids. Yes, all of your kids are included in your family. But at the same time, your kids should not, unless like the person is very toxic and disrespectful towards your kids, as long as they're loving and they are very respectful towards your kids, there shouldn't be any reason why your kids should determine if you're dating or not and how you're dating or not. I feel like to put on an illusion that you're not dating or you're not with someone is almost like living a double life. It's like you're putting on an illusion, which is a lie, that you're single and this is just how things are, instead of letting them know, like, hey, this is life. Me and your mother are no longer together, and she will eventually move on, and I am moving on, and that's just that. So even though this is a difficult situation, hopefully these two are able to navigate it. It seems like they're willing to navigate the difficulty for the moment, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully they can work it out as well.
I've got this secret that I'm not sharing with anyone.
The plan is to have you upstairs when they're here.
I'm stressed about how they're gonna react.
But I think we'll figure everything out. Hopefully you're, gonna be working at some point.
Now, last but certainly not least in the love seat, we have Shante and True. Okay, so as we see, True called off the engagement, so Shante, she decides to leave him. Now, they express that 2 months have gone by, and then she drops this bomb. Mind you, she's out shopping for her pregnant daughter and with her best friend, and they're at a baby store, and then she drops the bomb that she's pregnant as well. And of course her best friend is just like, whose is it? And she just like, who else, so to me that's kind of a red flag, the fact that she even has to ask whose it is. But nevertheless, sometimes you don't tell everyone everything, and that's understandable. Shante definitely does seem like a very private woman, so that's definitely understandable. But she also expresses that she's 14 weeks pregnant, and she's having not one but 2 kids, 2 babies, twins. Okay, she's in fact expecting twins. And so now this is, I don't know if it's just me, but my math ain't mathing. 14 weeks and 2 months, but whatever. Congratulations nonetheless. We're happy for any bundles of joy that she is bringing. It just, automatically I was like, hold on, what? Maybe they just mixed the time up. I'm thinking they just mixed the time up. Okay, now a red flag to me is that her daughter nor her best friend wants her to, I don't know if they're stating that they don't want her to go through with the pregnancy, but what they are stating is that they definitely don't feel like True is going to be a part of it, and they feel like she's going to be a single mom yet again. And of course Shante tries to defend True, like, well, you don't know if he's ready until he's ready. You don't know if he's ready until I tell him, And what stuck out to me is that the best friend saying that she feels like she's doing this in an attempt to go back to True out of desperation. And come on, ladies, we've all had desperate moments, but let's not let it be a desperate lifestyle. And I'm not saying that Shante is living a desperate lifestyle whatsoever. She may be having a desperate moment, but we all know, if you haven't learned from your first set of kids, that having a child does not keep a man. It never does. It never does. Now, the good news is she goes to tell True about the news of her being pregnant. And he's all willing to, he thinks this is an open invitation for them to get back together. Like, okay, I'm coming down there. Now, let me back up just a little bit more. Before she tells True about her being pregnant, she's questioning him about where you've been and what's going on. And he pretty much states that he got kicked out of his mom's house. Now, he does tell cameras and tells production that he got kicked out of his house because of the woman, Tisha, that he met up with the gym, because he didn't want to be exclusive with her. She basically caused a lot of issues in his life and caused a rift between him and his mom. Now, let me just say this. I've seen this several times before, where women they try to, I don't know if y'all remember when Tisha was introduced to the show, she said, yeah, my name is Tisha, but call me Shante. And to me, I automatically thought that was throwing shade towards Shante. And the only reason why is because I've seen it personally in my life several times where, say you're dating somebody or you're with somebody and all of a sudden their ex or some other person, random girl, wants to try to take your place, and next thing you know, her name is your name. Like her name, she's using her name and turning it into her name. Like, my thing is, if a guy I'm talking to, let me backtrack. For one, I would not be talking to anyone that's talking to anybody else. I feel like if you're talking to somebody else, I don't want to be a part of that circus. Honestly, that's just me truly. If you want to get to know me and you're looking for something genuine, I know I am genuine and so much more. So there's no reason to be. Now, I can see if we're talking and then you're just like, okay, you know what, you're not what I expect, or you're not exactly what I'm looking for, blah, 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 blah. Then go on to date someone else or see someone else. But for one, I think it's very rude. I think it's very unladylike, and it says a lot about the women who think that it's okay to step on another woman's toes in order to get what they want, because as the old saying goes, the same way you get the man is the same way you lose him. Okay, so why would you be willing to step on somebody else's toes to get someone, when in fact you would be upset if someone stepped on your toes to get to that same person? So why would you do that? Then I've seen several times where women will change their name and make their nickname or their name the same as your name. It has happened to me twice in my life, okay? Twice. And I just never understood that, because if I want somebody, I don't want to remind them of the last person, the next person, nothing. I want them focused on me and me only, because there's only one me and there's only one you. Now, for one, that wasn't even her real name. Come on, Shantae's not even her real name. Her real name is Tisha. So it wasn't no point to use Shantae's name, except to be like, you know, I feel like a lot of women be like, hey, I'm better than her, you know, so I could be her times 10. I could you know. And I feel like, fellas, if you're listening, that's a huge red flag when ladies do that. You got to watch out for them, because just like there's messed up men, there's messed up women, and they will try to ruin your life as well. Okay, I don't know, whatever it is in their heart and in their souls and whatever's going on with their life, they're not all the way whole. And of course, misery loves company. But I just automatically seen that as a red flag as soon as she did that, because it's like, why would you want to go by the same name that you know he's dating a woman with that name, and that's not even your real name? Y'all let me know down in the comments if that has ever happened to you, because I promise you, I have seen it with my own eyes. I don't understand why women do that, but I feel like there's a big red flag. This screams delusional. This screams something is wrong, terribly wrong, and you need to run. Honestly, just my opinion. But nevertheless, that's just my humblest opinion. And so when Truth states that this woman caused a rift between him and his mother, I'm like, of course she did. Of course. Like, I wasn't even surprised to hear that, because it's like, why would you even go that route? You already know that she left you in prison once, and then you get out of prison and she just like, oh, now I want you. No, she wants you to do what she wants you to do, but she don't want you. But yeah, I just feel like we can all learn a lot from watching these couples. I feel like a lot of us is probably going through it or have been through some of these situations before, whether their partner was in jail or wasn't in jail. But I definitely feel like we can all learn something from these couples. Back to Shante and True, though, I do feel like True definitely took the pregnancy news as an invitation to get back together. And I'm kind of nervous to see what happens next, just because I feel like Shante, she's finally getting her life back together, back in order. And so I'm hoping True isn't coming back to shake things up, okay? Now, that concludes this week's recap of Love After Lockup, and I can't wait to see you guys on the next one. And remember, love always.
What? I'm just confused because y'all was broken up. So how are you pregnant by him and not even together?
We had sex before we broke up.
It's true. Broke up with you for the dumbest reason humanly possible. That's what I was saying. Ready to tackle the single parent thing again?
I might not be a single parent.
I feel that Shante is gonna take True back, and I feel she's gonna do it out of desperation.
So this is another episode of Love's Diary, and this is AntiSoSure Love signing off.